So a viewer got the survey for the Classic Plus. Well, it has a load of questions on here, like 100 some questions. It's got some of the Classic Plus thoughts, opinions on here. So we're gonna briefly go through this. As he's already gone through about 30% of it. Got some juicy ones in there we missed, but it's fine. We'll go through and see what else they got on the survey here. So go right ahead. What do we got first?
So I agree more with the classic should focus more on end game experience versus leveling. Um, Leveling definitely has its place in classic. It's where you spend your first, 30, 40 hours, but a lot of the meat and bones, especially if it's new, fresh content, is going to be in the end game experience.
See, I'm gonna disagree with you there. I would
Oh,
say,
really?
yeah, I would say I feel like any real classic Andy, right, would say they play classic for the leveling. A lot of people play classic just for the leveling. So what is the question here? Would you much agree more with a new version of classic should focus on more of the end game, or a new version of classic should focus more on the leveling journey? My opinion, keep yours by the way. Don't change it because of
I
whatever
will
I
say.
say. Yeah. My opinion is I wish it was like in the middle because I I enjoy classic leveling for the first or second tune. After that, I'm just like, no, I just want to get to the max level, do the new content. So
Hmm.
to me, I would want them to spend equal time on both. I feel like because already classic has a great leveling feel and everything else. So maybe agree somewhat more to the end game experience because they already have a good leveling experience. But I think you mentioned there was a question prior to this that like if they should go past 60. Was that one
Actually,
of the
it's the
questions?
next one.
Oh, it's the next one.
Uh, a
Oh,
new
I see
version
it.
of
Okay.
classic should expand to higher level caps beyond level 60.
See, and if they do something like that, then of course they should focus in on the leveling from 60 to I don't know 65 or 70 or whatever it might be. So
Yeah, I definitely feel like every expansion past vanilla I got less and less away from the leveling experience of it and more just to the end game content of it.
100%. Yeah. Cool.
I think I would somewhat agree.
Yeah. So
Huh.
the next question, it was a new version of Classic should expand to higher level caps beyond 60, or a new version of Classic should stick to original level 60 cap and fit any new content within the cap, which they kind of did with Todd, I feel like they did a pretty good job with. But this almost seems like they're leaning to like a WoW 2. If they're gonna go past 60, that definitely seems like they're just gonna take a new game in a new direction. But
Hmm.
that's just my opinion on that. What's your thoughts on
A
it?
new version. For me, I personally lean more towards I think they should add more content to fit around the level 60 cap, especially if it's going to be more of a classic plus. Because if they make a classic plus, I believe they're going to build off of that. As I said on your last stream, in some sort of like alternate timeline version of WoW, to where we start getting additional content, additional zones, even additional expansions that were not originally planned or
Yeah.
were planned, like Emerald Dream way back in like 2008. We saw those YouTube videos for the longest time about this new expansion that's going to come in a couple years, and it never came to the light of day. Blizzard, they write up all these different scripts and codes and storylines and raids, and they just never find the proper spots for it. And this could be a way for them to take all those things that they scrapped over the last 20 years and find proper ways to introduce them.
Yeah, I like the keyword proper there. Yeah. If they do it proper,
Mhm.
I think it'll be good. Not just like throw it at you and like, all right, here's slop. But
Yeah, oh, I agree.
so it's a new version should exclude quality of life changes to stay true to the original classic experience, or a new version of classic should include at least some of the various quality of life changes added in WoW expansions. So here's my thought on this. They kind of did this with the anniversary. Me and you were talking about this earlier. They kind of did this already with the anniversary. They kept some of the small things and sod in. Like there's a portal to Nobergon in Booty Bay that came from
Hmm.
sod. They have that in anniversary realms. So tiny, I would say small, very small things like that, quality of life things, I'm okay with.
Hmm.
Um, too much quality of life, yeah, they know themselves clearly. That's why they're asking the question that too much quality of life had made the game not fun anymore.
And I think they did a pretty good job phrasing this question. They say a new version of Classic should include at least some of the various quality of life.
Yeah,
Now, they're not sitting here saying, do you want retail WoW to come to Classic? Because they know that's a bad idea. They know those systems will not work in a Classic feel.
yeah, that would be
But small things like those quality of life portals or the chrono booms, those small things that save you mounds of time in a game that already
yeah,
takes up a ton of time, I think is a good way of phrasing this.
yeah, I like that. Those corner boots helped a lot. Alright, so I prefer longer content phases for a new version of Classic, so I have time to fully explore content or level up alts. Or I prefer shorter content phases for a new version of Classic to keep things fresh and keep players interested. I got my opinion on this. I want to hear yours. What you got?
For me, I personally like slightly longer content phases, and the only reason for that is if you take Season of Discovery, for example, the devs that came out and said that while they were working on Season of Discovery, they were no longer than 2 or 3 weeks ahead in development than the
Hmm.
players were currently playing. So when we were in Phase 3, a month out from Phase 4 coming out, they were just putting the finishing touches on. They were just wrapping it up. So the
Yeah,
problem with these shorter content phases is when we get to like things like phase 8, which are, huge content phases, a new zone, a new raid, they feel a little less fleshed out because they're a little bit more rushed. I'd prefer them to take a little bit more time to where not too long, like, End of Cataclysm and all of WoD. I fucking love WoD, but
Hmm.
WoD, you
Wad
know,
fanboy. Yeah,
yeah, well, it deserves its love from somebody.
I'm sure it will.
Not not these super long phases where everything feels, you're losing 30% of your player base because they're waiting too long, but
Yeah,
slightly longer so you have this development time to make it polished.
yeah, I pretty much agree with you. Sod, like you said, they were only a couple weeks ahead on development and everything. Um, and then everything felt not polished. So I definitely agree with that. I prefer longer content phases for a new version of Classic, especially if it's new. If it's all new,
Oh
you
yeah,
want time to experience it. You want time to level all through new content, to try out the new content at the end too. So I definitely lean on that side of it of longer content phases. Not the longest, like you said. If you do too
hmm
long, we'd run into WoD 2.0. Um, but they need a bigger team if they want to fully flesh it out, I think. But that's a
oh
whole
yeah.
nother time for or a whole nother conversation. So the next one, I'm interested in playing a classic version of Warlords of Draenor after classic MOP, or I am not interested in playing a classic version of WoD after MOP. So,
Are you laughing
uh,
because I already answered?
well, partially, and I know your stance on this. So I already know you want to play WoD again. I never got to experience it back then. That's when I like kind of stopped playing WoW. I stopped playing. I quit WoW, and we've had this conversation. We talked about it. I think just like with Kata, people thought it was gonna be dead on arrival. WoD will not be dead on arrival if a couple of things they speed it up and they make garrisons like maybe optional or something, um, or figure out how to do that. I feel like a lot more people are gonna play WoD than they think. So
I agree.
yep,
I think, like you said with Kata, people would just assume that it was kind of die off. But the statistics on Kata, especially in Phase 1 and at the start of Phase 3, blew out expectations.
yeah,
And when it comes to WoD, yes, they leaned on the garrisons way too much. It was their
way
main
too
selling
much.
point
Yeah,
in the expansion, and they were awful. The raiding in WoD, fantastic. The
and I
leveling in WoD, fantastic. PvP was pretty good. It was decent.
yeah, and I
Overall, a
think a
good
lot of people
experience.
would agree with you on those stances there. So, all right, so I prefer long term, persistent classic experience like the 20th anniversary edition realms or classic era. I prefer seasonal classic experience like Season of Discovery. So that's like two different games in my opinion.
Mhm.
Anniversary classic, it's classic. You want to play classic, you'll play that. Season of Discovery, whole different game. So this is kind of like a weird question in my opinion.
So for me, it's like, do you want to play a progressive expansion like a fresh TBC, a fresh Wrath of Lich King, or do you want seasonal game modes like Season of Mastery, Season of Discovery, things that are going to be a little bit more sped up and a lot different? They're going to have all of these quality of life changes, they're going to have all these mechanical changes. It's not going to be classic WoW.
Yeah.
So I'd rather see something in the middle. A lot of these
Yeah.
experimental changes of SOD mixed with the nostalgic core feel of classic WoW.
Yeah. I agree. I'm somewhere in the middle there too. Um, a new version of Classic should focus on raid content for smaller groups, 10 to 20. A new version of Classic should focus on raid content for larger groups. So I see where you locked in at. I'm gonna disagree there,
Yep.
just because this is my first time actually playing Classic all the way through. Getting 40 people to show up every week for one, to stay organized for two, and to have to gear 40 people separately, it is a pain. It's just a pain. I would never want to do 40 raid content again. If there was,
I I hear everything you're saying and I agree
yeah,
with all of it. The only reason I'm so heavily against it is because this feels like one of those things that they went away from that no longer made it feel that classic WoW feel to it. We dropped from 40-man raids down to 25-man raids.
hmm,
We added in, you know, looking for group finder, things that took away this like camaraderie of your guild, these big groups of
yeah,
players that are grinding this out. I feel like there are definitely systems that could be put in place to ease the tension of a 25 to 40-man raid, and I think they should experiment with those things, but
more
still
loot drop
keep
kind of stuff.
something like that, yeah. But
Yeah,
still keep that sense of these large scale content. Maybe not everything has to be 40-man, but if you're going to do brand new expansions, for example, maybe the last raid of the expansion is a 40-man.
yeah, they could definitely experiment with some different stuff like that. Um, yeah, I can feel that. If they do some tweaks with it, it doesn't have to be loot. It could be whatever. Maybe like currency or something. People will hate, I know, but like from my experience, I've been farming. Is that your computer?
Yeah,
You're good. Um, from my experience playing 40 mans in classic here, I've been doing molten core since it came out, and I've seen two OSGs. I know you don't know what that is. But people out there, they'll know two OSGs in molten core, and I not the one the winner for it. So that's the only way. That's the only reason I'm kind of against 40-man raids anymore. It's got some nostalgia to it, but it's just it gets very discouraging quick. But that's my
I can
stance on
imagine.
it. All right. A new version of Classic should find ways to incorporate entirely new content or contents from WoW expansions. Example Outlands. Or a new version of Classic should focus primarily on existing Classic content of Azeroth, Kalimdor, and Eastern. So basically, they're asking, from what I read, do you want more than just Azeroth, Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is goes back into if they're making a WoW 2, are they planning on taking this like make it a long thing, like have expansions and everything else? So that's an interesting question.
So, as you were speaking, I kind of changed my answer there just because, and we've talked about this on your stream, there's so much lore and there are so many places in World of Warcraft, in,
Yeah.
Kalimdor and Eastern Kingdoms that are not in the game, that were in Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3, in the audiobooks, in the comic books, all these different zones that were unexplored
Hmm.
and stories that were never told that they can implement. I mean, there's several places in Classic WoW right now that's unaccessible. There's Gilneas that you just
Yeah.
can't get to there. Now it says add entirely new continents or continents from expansions. Continents maybe not, but zones definitely. So
Yeah.
like there's plenty of zones or islands out there that are supposed to be in the game that aren't. Or I mean I'm not really too keen on them just pulling some other ass for new content, but if you can drum up something in Azeroth. Like I don't want to go to Outlands again in a Classic Plus. I'd rather do
For
something new,
sure.
but I would like to see some zones added.
I agree. Yeah, the new zones for sure. The new contents or continents, that's where it gets weird. It's just like they need to define if they plan on taking this to make it a WoW 2.0 or not.
Yeah.
That's my opinion on that. Okay. So below is a list of potential features that could be included in a new version of WoW Classic. Please read and review the future list carefully. Okay. features playable shamans on the alliance side. I'll just read the future side, unless I need to. Feature 1v1 dual arenas. The ability to go into special dueling area for 1v1 contents that are viewable by spectators. Huh.
So
Oh,
think about like the arena in String
Gurabashi.
of Thorn. Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know how they implement that, especially with visitor or spectators. Um,
it'd be interesting.
it could be interesting, or it could be dead on arrival.
Awful. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. New class abilities and spells. This is where I'm like iffy because I feel like they did too much of that on SOD, and it felt retail to me. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah,
20
I can see
player,
that.
yeah, 20 player raids. They already have that in Anniversary. It's not bad. 10 player raids. That's where I feel like that's where you're definitely losing the camaraderie of your guild and everything else. You're just playing with a couple people at that point.
And then you're really min-maxing what you're bringing into the raid, and that's when you get into more meta fields. Like, oh, we have to stack 2 hunters, and we have to have a priest, and
That is true.
you know,
Yeah. Collections, a UI based storage system. So basically, what they have for retail and
yeah,
stuff now, which is fine. I feel like that's not terrible because this frees up your bag space. Any Anniversary or any classic player knows you run out of bank space. Even if you got all the on classic, if you have all the bank slots and you have all the good bags, you still run out of space for all the stuff you want to collect: pets, mounts, armor, all that stuff. Pet battles, that's absolutely no for me. But some people, I guess, collect pets from the game world and have them completely head to head on. Yeah, that's a no for me. I feel like nobody really played that. I know I might get some pushback from that, but I never knew anybody that actually partaked in pet battles. So, leveling professions, improvements, ability to make more usable gear for yourself as you level and be able to craft it at level appropriate trade skills. I feel like that's a no brainer. Make trade skills more. I don't know the word I'm trying to think of. Just as you're leveling your professions, as you level, you're making gear for yourself. That's good for your
something
level in time.
substantial. Because majority
Yeah,
of the stuff you can craft in those levels are typically dog shit.
they're dog. Yeah,
So like,
and they get
if you're
replaced quick.
yeah, so if you're level 35, you're like, oh, I could craft this really cool blue weapon that's gonna last me 5, 6 levels. It's gonna be worth the time to go gather those materials.
Yeah, for sure. Um, sorry, in-game events, new events that offer different small quests than usual and casual gameplay around the world. These would release between large updates. So just filler content around the
Yeah, which
world.
I think is good for classic.
Yeah, I feel like that could be fun because I know like OnlyFans they try to do like little games here and there, so that made it interesting
Mhm.
for sure. That could be cool. New trade skills, new primary and secondary professions. If it doesn't take too far away from the classic feel of it, I think it could be fine.
Mhm.
Class talent adjustments. Streamlining and improving class talent trees to make weaker specialization and classes more viable while still maintaining the overall feel and flow of classic combat. This is a no brainer, I think. Balance. Nobody wants to go to a 40-man raid and have 20, 25 warriors. That's that's no fun.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I feel like everybody could agree with that. New classes. So new character classes that are completely new to any version of World of Warcraft, i.e., not Death Knights, monks, demon hunters, evokers. It could be really cool if it's balanced and done right. I'm
I agree.
curious what classes they could have in mind. I know you've mentioned like necromancers. That could be something cool.
Some things that I've heard so far is things like Necromancer, Tinkerer.
You know what? I think
Uh,
the best feel of classic class could be that has not been in the game yet. A bard.
I
If they
agree.
do,
That's what I was thinking too.
I think most people could agree that a bard in WoW Classic would feel right, eh,
Hmm.
and they just got to find a way to incorporate it right for sure.
And I think it could be slow paced and complex enough to fit into that classic feel.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
Here's one for you.
transmog. That's a no. That's an automatic no for me. I like transmogging because it's cool. The real classic players out there know without transmog, you see the person with like tier 2, and you're like, damn, he's he's pretty cool. Or like rank 14 gear, you're like, damn, that's pretty cool. But if like, you know, the classic people know how that feels. I think most
Mhm.
classic players will be against transmog. I'm against transmog. I don't know about you.
It also says transmog will only be visible in rested areas, dungeons,
Oh,
or raids. No open world PvP, no battlegrounds.
so I liked it up until they said dungeons and raids too. If they kept it in town, like just in cities, and then like once you step out, it kind of just like it's a magic spell. When you're in town, you have like a custom feel to yourself.
It's
That'd be
essentially like a
cool.
buff.
Yeah, just a buff while you're in the main cities, like Orgrimmar, Undercity, kind of stuff. And then you walk out, and then it kind of just vanishes off you. That'd be cool. You can flex your cool pieces of gear in town, a cool set, but then once you're in dungeon raids and all that, and PvP, I feel like it should fall off.
I completely agree with that.
All
All
right,
right, here you
this
go.
is a very fun, controversial one. I know. So my take on WoW token is put it in. It stops people from buying gold. I mean, you're just giving the money to to Blizzard. And you get gold. Some people, like me, do not enjoy spending 8 hours to farm consumes for the raid that week. I have better stuff I could rather do. I could play a different game. I can farm. I can level an alt. All this other different stuff. I feel like, especially like nowadays, I feel like nowadays people just do not have the time to
Hmm.
justify not wasting, but to put 8 hours of their life aside to farm gold so they have stuff they want. And then this goes in another thing of it's not on here. I don't know if it's on here, but I want GDKPs back, and then I feel like if you put it in WoW tokens, you can have that game mode back, and it won't encourage gold buying. Anniversary servers already the economy is already ruined, and GDKPs are banned. I feel like that conversation should be over, and that they should just allow it. Allow the WoW token, allow GDKPs. That's my little rant. um, at the WoW token. What you got for as a dad gamer? What do you think?
I'm okay with it. I'm okay without it.
Yeah. Playable high elves. Playable high elves like race for Horde and the Alliance. So like a neutral race. They want
Seems
that.
like
That'd be if they can. It's the same thing with all this. If they can incorporate it right, it could be interesting. Um, yeah, it could be fun. Cross realm guilds. This is a no go. I don't like anything cross realm. Nothing.
agreed.
I think most people will because that's where you draw your ability to invite friends from other realms to join your player guilds. Yeah, I just don't see it.
It
Um,
shouldn't even be on this list.
yeah,
They should know.
they should, but there's gonna be the small handful of people out there that want it. Account wide perk progression system. So this sounds like the vault thing they have in the current retail. I'll read it though. The system will allow you to gather points and spend them on account wide bonuses such as quality of life, convenience, encouraging playing alts or specialization. And okay, so specializing in a specific activities. So I'm wrong. That's not what they have. To my knowledge, anyways. I don't play retail. So it sounds like you earn maybe a currency at max level by doing, I don't know, dungeons, and you can get like maybe an XP boost, like a 25% XP boost or something. That could be cool. It's, you know,
So I know just from my doom scrolling on YouTube a little bit of retail WoW. I know they have account wide reputations and things of that nature. So I think that's kind of what they're getting at here is that you get these specific perks and progressions for your entire account, like your warband, to where you don't have to go through and regrind the same professions over and over again or get attuned maybe.
yeah, I think that could be, well, I know there's going to be people out there that don't like it, but I think, because I know TBC is coming around the corner, and the thing I'm looking forward to the least and dreading the most is that you need to grind rep to be able to do heroic dungeons. So that
Yep.
discourages a bunch of alts. I know I'm probably gonna have like one main and an alt on TBC when it comes around. So I don't think maybe like if you have a main that's exalted with so and so reputation that your alt should automatically have exalted, maybe give it like a 2 times modifier on the rep or something like that. Not just hand it to
Mhm.
them. Feel like something like that would be okay. But,
I feel like no matter what they do, if they do something like that, it's gonna be controversial.
oh yeah, that's why they're asking these surveys. This is all
Mhm.
controversial to some people. All right, new player character models. Character models similar to those used for player creations and modern. Wow, that's a no for me. I hate the design. I feel like it's too cartoony. All that. I love the rugged feel of classic. I feel like they should keep that. Now, should they maybe update the environment of classic WoW? Maybe. I think they already got the water. I think they already did that anniversary, so I think that's fine. Upgrading the character models is a no for me. What do you think?
I can agree with that. It does have that aesthetic, 2004 feel to it. But so they like to break these questions up. But if you go down to here, it says graphical improvements to lighting, shadows, and surface reflections.
Yeah,
The only reason I would want this is if they went too far with this. So if the world felt too realistic, but my character
for
kind of felt like
sure.
it was still from 2004, then it would be offset. So
Yeah,
if
for
they're gonna
sure.
go heavy on the world improvements, in my opinion, they kind of need to update the models to some degree. Maybe not to the degree of what class or what retail is right now,
Yeah,
but you cannot completely overhaul the graphical texture of the world and keep our 2004 models. So you have to do kind of both or neither.
that is true. I agree with that. So it's like my opinion would be just not to touch it. Leave classic feel
Agreed.
how it is, and if they do new zones, keep it classic feel, and that's that. So, all right, war mode. As an alternative to PvP servers, this mode will allow you to opt into PvP in the open world via toggle in main faction cities. So I see what they could do with this. They can have one mega server
Yep.
if they can support it. Which I feel like Blizzard said in the last year or two that they have the technology now to where like they can have tens of thousands of people on one server, especially with layers and everything. And it'll be okay. If they do one mega server on, on the East Coast, West Coast, EU, Oceanic servers, if they do one mega server, I feel like war mode would be okay.
Hmm.
But
I'm right there with you.
if you don't, there's no point of putting it in there. Player housing, this is a retail thing. My opinion is no, you don't need it. And since personalized housing for players and guilds, if sure, that's my opinion. Sure, if it's not too
Once again,
crazy,
it's one of those things I could live without. I mean, it's
yeah.
just gonna be somewhere else to hang out in that's not Stormwind or Ogrimmar.
Yeah, that's basically it. But then
As long as it doesn't become a garrison, like
keep it not cartoony. Like if you want to
all
make
that
a
too.
rugged like tavern like player housing, cool, that'd be awesome. But if you start throwing fairies in there I don't know, that's just too cartoony for me.
Hmm.
Revisiting known but unexplored zone, visiting zones that were part of WoW Warcraft history but were never playable in original WoW, i.e. Mount Hyjal, Olden, Essex. So what you were saying earlier, basically, should they
Yeah.
include that? Yeah. If they're gonna do new zones, if they're gonna expand WoW past 60, if they want to like create questing hubs that fill the gaps, or while leveling to 60, for sure, do that. um, where was I at? Oh, okay. Account wide collections, making all pets, mounts, toys available to all characters on your account. I'm indifferent on this too. If they have it, cool. Saves me from grinding. It's like if I'm farming ZG on anniversary and I get the tiger mount and I get it on my alt that I don't ever play, it'll feels bad. Um, but
That's
also,
kind of where I draw the line. It's like I'm all for pets and toys and all that stuff in account wide. I think mounts should still be character specific.
yeah, okay, cool to hear other opinions on it. I don't really have an opinion on it, so it's cool. New race and class combination. New class race combinations, including those never before seen in Warcraft. Eh, Like I revert back to this all the time if it's done right, because I think originally they like human hunters is like a no brainer, but they said never seen before, so
Hmm. Class combinations that have never been before seen in a while. The first thing that pops in my head for some reason is like a human shaman. We don't need to perfectly balance out everything. We don't need to make everybody happy.
Yeah, and I mean they're never gonna make everybody happy. So it's like if they find a way to integrate it, sure. Um, but yeah, I get it. Some people don't. They want that uniqueness of the like the alliance, and paladins, and then the
Mhm.
horde heaven shaman. So that's a tough one, and that's why they do these surveys too. So you get
Yep.
these surveys, get your opinions out there. I'm curious to know what they do come up with. Playable palette. Yeah, exactly what we were just talking about. It takes away a little of the uniqueness. I get that side of it. But also it would be cool to play classic anniversary with a shaman on the alliance side.
Mhm.
But uniqueness too. I get that. Achievements. Why not? There's zero reason not to have achievements. If you don't want to hunt achievements, you don't have to do achievements. You don't get nothing. Well, okay, they could have rewards. If they take away, I don't know. I think achievements in the game are fine. Rewards get a little iffy. If you have achievements, though, it's just like another thing. It's numbers. That's all it could be.
Yeah, and typically, the rewards are like titles or, pets and stuff like that, which I think are cool. And it's even
Yeah,
mounts, if you're spending all this time, you're spending 20, 30 hours to get this specific achievement, you get handed a cool, saber-tooth tiger or some shit.
yeah,
Cool. Good for you.
yeah. I
You
think
spent all that time, you got that reward. Awesome.
yeah, I think achievements could be implemented with no problem.
Hmm.
Cross realm play. It comes back to the cross realm guild. Yeah, it's just a no. For most classic people, I would think it'd be a no. 40 player raids. We talked a little bit about this earlier. New 40 player focus raid dungeons. I think they meant raids. Maybe instances in general. Anyways,
Yeah, I think they just meant like instanced
yeah.
raids.
You heard his opinion on this. You heard my opinion on this. Yeah. Let me know what your opinions are down in the comments below. So I'm really interested to hear what other people say about this because I know sometimes I can have some hot takes about opinions in WoW. Honor system redesign. A grouped up redesign of honor system, removing the hard honor cap, making the system more evergreen and continually engaging. I would have to see what their plan is
Hmm.
because I would say rank 14 grind how it is now. It's just that a grind. It doesn't take any skill. You just sit in AV. You can basically sit AFK. Um, yeah, I could say do a whole new honor system revamp if it has a classic feel to it still. And yeah, make rank 14 feel special again, or rank whatever. If they go higher than 14, make it feel special. Make it feel like that person was actually good at the game and earned it, or that they spent 80 hours a week, being the top number one in honor, whatever it might be, whatever system they might do. Make it feel special again to be rank 14. Because I swear, I'm rank 14 on anniversary, and it felt like I did nothing but just play AV. I feel like I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't deserve it. I'm not good at PvP. I don't play PvP at all anymore, but I have rank 14. So yeah, definitely an
I think
honor
they
system
definitely
redesign.
I think they definitely lost their vision for PvP post vanilla. I mean, yeah, we got arenas in TBC, which is cool,
Yeah,
but there was never really that big reward you were chasing anymore.
yeah,
Back in vanilla, it was that rank 14, the best had it. And it
yep,
was grueling and it was hard. WoW used to be hard. You were talking about an hour ago. People were messing up a small jump because you're
yeah,
so conditioned to easy content.
yeah.
Let
That's
something
true.
like that be challenging. Let it be the top players. I'll never get it, and I'm fine with that. But I'll look at somebody with that cool, rank 14 axe on, and be like, "Holy
Yeah,
shit, dude, my bad."
yeah. That's the feel. That's the feeling it used to be. And yeah, I think it'd be cool. Make it something where the top, I don't know, 10% of players on the server get something like that. That's fine. New battlegrounds, new objective based PvP instances. Um, Depends on how new they're going. Like with this classic plus, if they do 60 plus, yeah, sure, go ahead and add a new battleground like they kind of not kind of do with every expansion, but a new battleground would be cool if they go past 60. I feel like if they keep it at 60 and everything else, it's just too much. You already got Arathi Basin, AV, Warsong Gulch. Just adding a fourth one in there, unless it's like fun. But I don't know. I don't
I
have too
think
much of an opinion on that one.
I think regardless, their PvP systems just need an overall revamp.
For sure. Yeah.
Um, objective based PvP, yeah, I'm all for it.
Hmm.
Uh, the problem is, and like you touched on this with the whole AV, AFK, and farm grind, because it's the optimal way to do it. And we're in that era of WoW, right? Everything's min max, everything's optimal.
Yeah.
You know,
Do it as fast
if
as you possibly can.
yeah, if a Warsong Gulch win equated to the same honor per hour that an AV win did,
Yeah.
you would see diversity across these battlegrounds. You would see actual engagement in these battlegrounds.
I agree.
We'll never see a day like 2004 AV ever
No.
again.
No. So maybe not a new battleground, but like redesign of the current battlegrounds would be good. Because yeah, I agree with you. Even when it was like Warsong Gulch weekend, everybody was still in AV getting the best honor per hour. Majority. Some people were min max in Warsong Gulch, but that was a very small amount of people. So yeah, maybe revamp, redo the current battlegrounds, um, but maybe not new battleground itself. Brand new zones, we kind of talked about that already. Honor reward redesign, we talked about that already. Um, graphical improvements, we talked about this. So graphical stuff, if you're gonna improve it, improve all of it. My opinion is no. Let me know what you guys think. Out of all this stuff we go through, let me know what you guys think about it in the comments here. Let me know if my takes are just dog shit too. So, all right, guys. So the rest of it was not too entertaining. It was just questions and like his most important thing he wants in classic. Plus, what he think of like what should and should not be put into there. Um, and yeah, so that was a World of Warcraft Classic Plus survey. Let me know what you guys think of that. Think of it down below, and thanks for watching.